Welcome to Dr. Charles Speaks, a podcast for now. Dr. Charles is a nationally recognized Fortune 500 business leader, a former adjunct professor, speaker, and ministry founder. With over 30 years of exceptional performance in both business and ministry, he will share his profound approaches to developing successful leaders. Let's get motivated with Dr. Charles Speaks, inspiring excellence and generating results.
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Charles. I hope you were able to listen to the first Dr. Charles Speaks. It was an exclusive interview I shared on Game Changers with Lisa Faulkner. Today's podcast is part 2. I want to get right into it because I know it's going to really inspire you to make a difference right where you are today. There is no time like the present to be the change you want to see. I hope today's show will encourage you to do so. Enjoy and listen now as we go right into the interview.
Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining me for another week of Game Changers with Lisa Faulkner. I am super excited. If you were with me last week, you had the opportunity to hear from a dynamic gentleman, Dr. Charles Redd. The show was electrifying. We delved into some very important issues, some very important topics, very important to our society today, very important to leadership today, very important career topics that people need to hear about, people need to glean from, because Dr. Charles Redd is a leader. He's a corporate success. He has a lot of experience in education and knowledge under his belt that game changers, people who are looking to make a difference in their lives, people who just need practical advice, knowledge that will take them through the years, can glean from. And I thought that it would serve us to bring him back for a part 2. And he is back with us this week for a part 2. So before we dive right back in, you know how I like to tell you to listen to Game Changers each week, any way that you can, all through the week. You can get the podcast on iTunes and Spotify, Google Play. Plug into us any way that you can on radio. But right here, I'm glad that you are listening to the show again here on Preach the Word, watching the show here on Preach the Word here on the television network. But connect with me on social media as well. Lisa Faulkner on LinkedIn, Lisa M. Faulkner on Facebook, at Penstar Lisa on Instagram, at Penstar Lisa on Twitter as well. Connect with me on all of the social media networks. I will be certain to connect back with you. I love it when you connect with me. Cannot do it without your support and encouragement. I love to stay connected with you, and your support is everything to the show. So I want to get right back in with Dr. Charles Redd. Thank you for staying with us for a part 2 to this show. Just a wealth of information, sir.
Well, it's my pleasure.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. You know, before we went to break, I want you to just kind of catch everybody up. If they did not see the first part of the show, if you would just, in brief, tell the viewing audience a little bit about yourself. You are a corporate gentleman. You, of course, are a Christian gentleman as well. You bring your beliefs into your work. You are a transformational leader, a servant leader. You've trained many. You have a team under you in your work. And then, of course, you are a public and motivational speaker. We're going to dive into that a little bit more for this part 2. But I want you to tell the viewing audience a little bit about yourself as well before we get started.
Well, no problem. I'm a native of Detroit, Michigan, born and raised there and proud of it. Had the opportunity to do a lot of schoolwork there and graduated from Western Michigan University and Central Michigan University and Ashland Theological Seminary. And my career has been, as I've said on the last show, that like a triangle. On one side of it has been corporate America, having the pleasure of working for several Fortune 500 companies, serving in the capacity of leadership in management, in training and development. And then also on the church community side and being an ordained minister, being and one that's been able to teach inside of the church community in the Christian education area of discipleship. And so I look at the two as on one side as being a trainer of trainers, and on the other side as being a disciple and training them to become disciplers. And when you add the two together, it really makes for some great leadership in our country, in our community, in our homes. And this is what I do. And so education is very important, but yet and still experiences are just the same important. And when you add the two together and you learn from each other and you learn from your own mistakes and things that work and don't work, then it makes for a better life journey along the way.
Mm-hmm. Now, as we were closing the last show, we were talking about the misinformation, the information of the misinformation that seems to be blossoming time and time again among our youth, among ourselves, as we tune in every day, as we follow. We don't know what to follow if we don't have clear paths, it seems. Where do you think we are? Why? How do we get back where we need to be today? You talk about making disciples. Tell us about this misinformation.
You know, I think the thing is that we can get caught up in a lot of things that's going on in our community that we don't necessarily have control over. But what we do have control over is that being ourselves. We can be the best me that we can possibly be. And how do we do that? It's all about building character, building your own brand. I sell a brand of Hershey products. It's great brands. It's been around hundreds of years, 100 years at least. But at the same matter, you have a brand. I have a brand. And that's who we are. And what is it that we want to share with others? And so we look at other brands. Do we mimic them? Or do we take that which we have and allow it to develop and become us? And that's what I believe, and that's what I instill upon people, is that there's no need to be envy of anyone. There's no need to be jealous of anyone. There's no need to try to be like someone and imitate. The only person that I'm going to imitate, being a person of faith, is Jesus Christ. I'm going to be a copycat of what he does and what he would do. We used to wear those wristbands, and what would Jesus do? And that's really about what life is on the Christian side of it. What would he do? And how can I exemplify that in my everyday speech and my everyday action? And so we work and strive for that. But on the corporate side, we can take those things in, but be yourself. Be the best self. I think the old saying is being a jack of all trades, but a master of none. But there is something that you and I can master. And that's something we got to tap into. And that's where I feel that I can help people do that. We see that in sports. I'm a big sports fanatic. Baseball is my favorite sport. And when the scouts go about looking for a future talent, they look at them by the position they play. You might be playing first base, but they may see something in you that says that you are a pitcher or that you're an outfielder. And they're able to come and show you that and help you see that and realize that. And then eventually you end up into the major leagues and make a career out of it. So sometimes we make a wrong turn, we make a left turn, or we're doing a good thing, but not necessarily the right thing. And when we're able to do the right things, then we're able to be the best that we can be, serve where we are, and impact where we live. And then you will see that it will make a difference in the community.
What about these people, these youth, maybe not youth even, or people that find themselves in situations that are affecting them to be the best that they can be? How do they may be stuck in jobs that they feel are not allowing them to be the best that they can be. How do they empower themselves? Well, what's the word for someone that feels stuck?
I think you have to realize the sky is the limit. You have, even if you can't realize it where you're at today, you can put it in a vision. You can put it on paper. It's something about seeing it and something about keeping your mindset on that versus dreaming and letting it go. But it is actually a vision that you hold with you and you review it on an ongoing basis.
That's good.
When I think about what I'm doing today and going out and speaking to people and to train other folks and what have you, I'd never thought I could do that when I was younger. But then as I continued to learn and grow, I became that much more confident. And then when I found my purpose in life, what am I here for?
then I became very safe and very secure in my own skin and began to be better at what I do. So that's the key, is that, you don't have to wait on someone to hand you something. You can paint the picture yourself, and you can believe. If nobody else believes in it but you, that's okay. And what I've also found is that many people that have made it, they have failed over and over. But the key, as I said in the last segment, never, 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 ever give up on your dream. Though people may leave, they may say you're wasting your time, but you stay the course. And with God being your help, you'll get there.
Yes.
And he'll bring people such as yourself into your lives.
Yes.
You come into my life, and we're here today.
Yes.
I never would have dreamed that years ago. But now, is there anything too hard for God to do?
No.
And the manifestation of connections and people
That's right.
to reach that which you're going to do. And when you get there, it's not about I have arrived. It's really about reaching back and pouring in to that person to help save them some of the mistakes that you've learned.
Yes.
When I first entered into corporate America, it was really kind of, here's the keys, here's the manual, go to work. No one really showed us, no one really trained us. And so you had to have self-initiative. You had to look under the rocks. You had to do the best you could do with what you were given to succeed versus complaining because you had the lack of. And you just became better at it. It makes you better. And so at the end of the day, what is it that you have? What is it that you can do? What is it that comes easy to you? What is it that you can pour your heart and soul in and make a difference and add value to people along the way? Because if it's all about me, then you're not going to be complete.
Wow.
I get more pleasure out of doing something for someone than someone doing something for me.
I'm hearing so many great points. I hope you all are, I hope you're writing them down or tweeting them out, but I'm hearing write the vision and make it plain.
Yes.
I mean, even if it's not before you, even if you feel like you're stuck, you're not, because you can start making it real today by writing it down, making it plain to yourself, and then it starts to become real. I'm hearing there's no sense of entitlement here. Sometimes you just got to go to work. Sometimes you're just handed the manual. Dr. Red said he was just handed the manual
That's right.
and told to go to work. And then thirdly, I'm hearing sometimes we just got to do good for each other. We just got to share it out. We just got to do for one another what we would have one another to do for us.
Yes.
Is that what I hear you saying?
Exactly. When you think about entitlement, I'm all about a hand up versus a handout. When I think about high school and when competing for sports, nowadays, if you want to be on a particular team, you just show up and you're on the team and you get a letter and a jacket and you're proud of it and it goes with the job. But when I was coming up, you had to try out and you go back to the coach's office to see if you made the team, and if your name wasn't on it, you didn't make the cut. But you didn't give up. You continue to get better, and so the next time around, your aim is to be one of those that are on the team.
Yes.
So now everybody gets a ribbon. Everybody gets accolations in terms of what they've done. But you still have to realize that you got to put in the time.
Yes.
You got to put in the work.
Yes.
There was the old slogan, I want to be like Michael Jordan. Well, he put in the time. He put in the work.
He put in the work.
And so
Yes.
it takes
Let's talk about that. I hear people saying that a lot now about millennials. They get a bad rap for having a sense of entitlement. You are one who entertains all age groups, who trains and works with and builds and is around all age groups. Do you find this to be true? Are they just getting a bad rap? What kind of truth is in this sense of entitlement, do you find?
My daughter's one of those in that category. But I don't feel that she feels like everything is given, and that I believe she believes and knows that you have to earn things, you work for things, and you appreciate them more when you work for something than when you're given something.
Or what is that stemming from?
You know, I really haven't put my finger on it, but what I would say is I am around a lot of the millennials is that I learned from them. There's some very smart generation of people from a technology, but what we can do is exchange and get the good that they have been experienced and then pour in what it is that we learned. And when you put the two together, it makes for a really great person.
It makes for a wonderful
so
combustion.
I learned from them, they learned from me.
Yes.
And there's no all know-it-alls. And you bring them back in. Sure, I could share how my journey went, and they have no clue because they're thinking about, I've done this for 2 years now, what's next for me and what's next for me. But at the same time, I say to them, there are some things that you can learn. And while you're going through that process, it's not trying to get to the finish line and get to the top. In leadership, it's where you're at.
Yes.
You don't all of a sudden become a leader when you become the president of the company. Right. You have developed that from day one. So it's a conversation for sure.
It's a give and take.
Yes,
let's take a break. This is a good place to take a break. We will be right back with Dr. Charles Redd. I want to add a little bit to that response I asked him, that question I asked him, but I'm going to add my part on the other side of the break. We'll be right back. Do you need someone with solid, expert communications experience to write your copy or your next press release? Then you need PennStar Communications. Let PennStar communicate your greatest potential with clear copy written for your business and marketing needs. Whether it's your next event or next campaign, PennStar Communications can write that for you. Visit pennstar.org or call 404-828-0287 today. Well, we are back. I am here with Dr. Charles Redd. He is a corporate leader. He is a minister. May I call you a minister? Would you say you are a minister?
Yes, I am ordained as a minister.
You are ordained as a minister. And, we're leery to call ourselves that. But in a way, I think when we lead others, when we accept Christianity, we should all be ministers, would you say?
I would even add to that and say we are ministers because we're ministering to people. We're always, whether we're treating them kindly, we're ministering to them. Have a good word of advice, we're ministering to them.
Yes.
We're bringing them a pot of soup over to their home or visiting them while they're sick. We're ministering to them.
Yes.
But as a leader in ministry, I have been involved in that for years and been able to see the other side of that, where people are hungry and they're desperate in desperate times, and people need to be heard and people need to be served and all of those things. And that's the side that you don't often hear about a lot, but it is certainly a pleasure in serving people and helping them get out of the situation that may not be so good, that they can get into a better situation.
Yes, amen. Before the break, we were talking about millennials and the bad rap they get about us having a sense of entitlement. And I think maybe you do see that sometimes, but I think also sometimes they may be misunderstood. I think that they are so smart. I think that they are so intelligent. I think that they have come here with an advantage with so much technology, so much information that they may present that way, and that sometimes maybe they are not. But I was giving you an example during the break of one young lady at work that I totally underestimated her just because she did not present that way, as gifted as she is on her resume and in her presentation. But now that I'm able to see her work, it's totally blowing me away. She's so gifted. And I think that you gave me a clue, a very good clue, as to why they maybe do not present as well as they could, because they miss a lot of the social interaction that we used to have without the technology.
Yes, and we're talking about the interpersonal
interaction.
Like I said, standing behind or typing behind a text or what have you. But when you're actually eye to eye and actually having that dialogue and the conversations, sometimes the uneasy conversations, the hard conversations we call standing in the place of tension, then you're able to practice on those skills of working together, being a part of a setting versus maybe not being comfortable in certain settings.
And it's like pulling teeth sometimes, trying to get them to those places of interaction. They just can live without them.
That's right.
They would rather just send a text.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you either could be on the sidelines, just envision a party. You're either standing on the sidelines as a wallflower or you're out on the floor dancing. And when we say being out on the floor dancing, you're meeting people, people that you never know that can add value to you and vice versa. So it's so important, even as leaders or wannabe leaders, that you're having those exchanges. It saves you time, it saves you money, and it's wise to do. I've wasted a lot of money and time before, but you learn from those, and you ask the right questions, and you get further along the way.
Yes. And then we talked about the other age groups in work. I think they need to retirement, because everyone has value, everyone has something to offer, and when you bring all of them together, there's something really special that happens.
I think the key to that as you get older into the workplace is that you must stay relevant. And if you're one that always says, remember the times back then maybe you should retire. But as things change, there are many companies gone out of business as they were on back then. But the folks today are smarter. They're bringing more to the table, and it's exchange. When I work with my people, I don't claim to know it all. But I do feel that it's a fair exchange because I am able to share some things that I do know, and they are able to show me. So in my mindset, I will never retire. I tell people I'll just blaze away. And in that is because I'm going to continue to meet new people. I'm going to continue to learn from people. I'm going to continue to be active and relevant and be able to make positive contributions to all people.
We are in a heated climate now, Dr. Red. You can hardly turn on the news without a conflict, without police brutality flaring up, without the president and some type of controversy, without lawsuits, without a movement, a Me Too movement, without someone kneeling in protest of their rights, without some type of abuse or trauma resurfacing, people just not being taken care of in our society. Everything has risen to the surface, and we are in trouble. We are in crisis. What do you say?
It's a very difficult time for many, and for myself, for all of us involved, because this could become the norm. Whereas it was a shock and awe, now it's become a situation like the story of the frog in the pot of water. The frog doesn't realize the temperature is being turned up, and then it gets to a point where the frog dies because it's boiling hot water. And so we're in that pot. We're all in it, in a melting pot, and whether we're going to burn up or we're going to get smart and get wise. And this goes back to what I've been saying, is that we talk about it from a Christian perspective. Let this little light of mine shine where I'm at. And this is what I would ask people to do. Where you're at, what can you do to bring positive change? The reality is what we see and hear. We see it. We can't deny it. We can't turn our eyes and close them off. But what we can do is still present the right way to go. If 10 people go down a path that we don't want to go, then you be the one that hold the sign this way, the other way. And so we have to respect people, we have to love people, but we don't necessarily agree with people. But at the same time, there has to be the love and the respect for each other. And so let it begin with me. Let it begin with all the others that want to see positive change. Because it's easy to catch hold and to latch on to the negativity, and I'm not the only one. I run into that sometimes with people who are not performing as well as they should be, and quick to respond. I'm not the only one. And I said, well, that may be true. You're not the only one, but what are we going to do about it? Mm-hmm. What now? And that's really the question before us in America. What now? What is your response? Are we merely going to have a knee-jerk reaction, or are we going to think this thing out and respond? I still believe that there's got to be the vast majority in this world of good people who are looking to do good things. And so don't be fooled by all of the information, but yet it is a reality. We can't act like it doesn't exist. But I've got to start where I'm at on my street corner.
Yes.
In my actions, what I do.
Wow.
We really need that, I think.
We really do.
We really do.
And that's the only way really to make a difference. I mean, all of us can't take to the pulpit.
No.
All of us can't take to the public speaking or the platforms or go out and start walks or movements.
Yes.
We have to make a difference one person at a time, where we are, what we can do in our homes.
Yes.
In our neighborhoods, in our communities, at our jobs,
Yes.
In our markets, with the people that we encounter, one at a time, I think.
And I think one of the things that's appalling to me is that, right is right and wrong is wrong.
Yes.
So, no matter my community, no matter my party affiliation, right is right.
Yes.
And wrong is wrong. And so just to go along with people knowing that they're wrong is really appalling.
Yes.
And that's, from a political perspective, I always saw myself as an independent thinker, independent voter,
Yes.
And actually voted on both sides of the aisle. But what I've seen here in the last 8 years here has been really just politicized and go along with me no matter how it looks. And it really kind of takes you back. And so we've got to stand up for what is right. But in that, we can't come off like we know it all.
Yes.
So there's give and take.
Yes. There is give and take.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we've come to our final couple of minutes here. How can the viewing audience find you? Why should the viewing audience find you? How can you serve them? What do you want them to know in these final couple of minutes? I have so enjoyed sharing these past couple of shows with you. Thank you for spending time with us. What else would you, in these final couple of minutes, what would you like to share with the viewing audience?
Well, certainly you could contact me at my website, drcharlesred.com. And certainly what I am interested in doing for you and the audience is being an inspiration. And not only being an inspiration, but motivating you to propel yourself even further along this life journey. From earth to heaven, there's still something that you have to do. Yes. There's some places you have to go. And I am a teacher at heart. And so I just love being able to explain things to help people to get off first base and run around the whole diamond and get to home plate, and that's what it's all about, getting to that home plate and being the best at what you do and being able to help people along the way. Excellent. So that's what I'm about, and that's what I want to make others about in inspiring our world in such a time as this.
Excellent. Thank you so much. I believe you have done that, and you are doing that, and we thank you for doing that with us today. Welcome to the Game Changers family.
Yes, thank you.
That's it, guys. I know that you have been inspired. Thank you so much for joining us. Tune in next week, and this has been Dr. Charles Redd and Game Changers with me, Lisa Faulkner. I am your host. Until we meet again, do your very best.
Thank you for listening to Dr. Charles Speaks. Visit drcharlesred.com for booking info for your ministry, business, or leadership team. Get info about the Red Line, a 15-minute corporate success call each Monday morning with Dr. Charles. Follow Dr. Charles on all social media at Dr. Charles Redd. Subscribe to the podcast here for every episode of Dr. Charles Speaks. Thanks for joining us. Like Dr. Charles always says, no matter what, never, never, never give up. Until next time.